Thank you so much for being here. I'm Mark Field. I'm the Senior Vice President of Investor Development and Experience for the Knoxville Chamber. And I want to thank you guys for joining us this morning. We're really grateful to have you here today. We all know that small business is the lifeblood of our community and as far as business is concerned. And we just appreciate all that you guys are doing to keep your business and be successful. As we look forward to the new year, and we want to hear some valuable insight about small business growth. And so we're going to be hearing from Tom in just a few minutes about that. Today's programming wouldn't be possible without our entrepreneurship and small business sponsors. And those are Shod Companies, Computer Systems Plus, and TVA Credit Union. So a big thank you goes out to them. We're grateful for the support, for their support of the Chamber's mission and regional economic prosperity. And at this time, I want to introduce to you Tom Sullivan with the U.S. Chamber. Tom is the Vice President of Small Business Policy at the U.S. Chamber. And in this position, he harnesses the views of small business and translates that grassroots power into federal policies that help bolster free enterprise and reward entrepreneurship. He also runs the U.S. Chamber Small Business Council, and he engages those members on a regular basis to increase small business input and involvement in chamber activities. We are thankful to have him here with us today. I want to say on behalf of the Knoxville Chamber, thank you to the U.S. Chamber for all that they do to help small business grow across our nation and increase free enterprise. Tom?
Well, thank you, Mark. Well, first of all, if someone could put in the chat that you can hear me, that would give me some comfort. I had never heard before that Mark's expression that Satan lives in technology. And although some of our larger tech companies may not want to hear that, I don't disagree. So thank you for sharing that. I have some slides that I will use to try to keep us on track. So let me see how I share the slides here. Okay, so it says screen sharing has been disabled. Is there anyone in the home office that could share the PowerPoint that I have here? Oh, there we go. So here are the slides, and I'm fairly passionate about small business. And so one of the reasons I have just several slides is to keep me on track and not to get overwhelmed by the passion that I have for small business. So first of all, thank you for having me. My only regret is that it's not in person. One, because I'd love to see your smiling faces, but two, because I don't get to have falafel at Yassine's Falafel House. He and I have become good friends over the past several years. A remarkable small business owner, entrepreneur. And so I'm a little bit bummed that I'm doing this remotely, not only because of some technology challenges, but also because I don't get to give Yassine a big old bear hug. And for those of you who have eaten at Yassine's restaurant and know Yassine, you probably know exactly what I mean by giving him a big bear hug. So first of all, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, located in Washington, D.C., we're directly across the White House. I like to say that it's the White House, Lafayette Park, some protesters, and then our office. Beautiful, beautiful building. And we are celebrating this year our 110-year anniversary. And that anniversary is very special, not only because of the staying power of a voice for business in Washington, D.C., but also because when you enter into the building that I work in, there's a giant plaque with the thousands of local chambers of commerce who created the U.S. Chamber of Commerce over 110 years ago. And it is a daily reminder for me that you are the people I work for. Knoxville Chamber and your members helped create U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and you are the people that get me jumping out of bed every morning. That and a very hungry puppy that we just got. So we are the world's largest business advocacy organization with about 3 million members. Over 96% of those members have fewer than 100 employees. 75% of that membership actually have fewer than 10 employees. That includes our partnership with close to 2,000 local, state, and regional chambers of commerce, like the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. So I'd also like to just start with a thank you. One of the best and most exciting parts of my job is to recognize the nation's best small businesses. And you can see in this picture from just over a month ago, it was the first time ever I got to hold a giant check. We see these things on TV. It was quite an honor to be able to hold a giant check and then hand it to some remarkable entrepreneurs who are really just down the street from all of you. Carbon Rivers, really an amazing technology company, one of many spinoffs from the University of Tennessee down in Knoxville. They're doing really tremendous things. It was an honor to recognize their achievements and really celebrate their future achievements, because we got a lot of chance to talk about what it means to build a team and grow a team and then scale to be even larger. And the reason that I'm starting here is really a special thank you to the Knoxville Chamber. This past year, we had the highest number of applicants to our annual Dream Big Award program. And consistently, year after year, the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce encourages the best of Knoxville's small business community to apply. And only in the last, just looking from a short snapshot of the last 4 years, you've had many of the finalists and winners. Strategy won the Dream Big Award a few years ago. Coonhound Camping, some students at University of Tennessee that set up an entire campground for you up in the mountains. They won the Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and then certainly Yassine's Falafel House. And I'm hearing that he's opening up his third restaurant, which is really, really tremendous. So a heartfelt thank you to the Knoxville Chamber of not only celebrating the small businesses of Knoxville every day, but then trying to put them in a national spotlight by encouraging many of the best to apply for our Dream Big Award. So thank you, Knoxville Chamber. So the real reason you all asked for me to participate this morning is just to give you a snapshot of what's going on, what I hear from small business, and then more importantly, I'm hoping to hear from you, answer questions, but also to learn from you about what's going on the ground in Knoxville and in the surrounding areas. So first of all, this is unreleased data. So this is not coming out until next week. So don't tweet it, don't put it on YouTube, all those things. Let's just keep it amongst friends for right now. But since we are releasing these data next week, I thought it was only fair to give you a sneak peek at what we're saying is going on in the fourth quarter of 2022. So right here on the slide is our small business index through the entire life of the index. As you can see, sharp drop in the second quarter of 2020, and then a very slow kind of build back up for that index. Now, last quarter, in the third quarter, we saw inflation reach the top concern of small businesses that were surveyed. And we, with our partners at MetLife, we survey small businesses every quarter and then track their responses. Inflation rose to a high in the last quarter. This quarter, it's even higher. But with that being said, there's really no change in the overall index from last quarter to this quarter. But one of the things that we will talk about next week when we officially release these data, say that inflation is at an all-time high concern by small businesses. Now, this actually validates one of the things that we heard last quarter. The last quarter, small businesses told us, 70% of small businesses told us that the worst is yet to come as far as inflation comes. And that prediction, unfortunately, came true, that their concern with price hikes that they're experiencing and then really struggling to pass on those price hikes to their customers, it got even worse in this last quarter of 2022. Another item that we're going to talk about a little bit is the urgency and the need small businesses have to really make up for lost revenue in the last quarter of this year. So when we talk about shop small, shop local, shop small business, whether it's clicking on the Amazon small business part of their website or patronizing a local store in Knoxville, the importance of doing that is at an all-time high this year because inflation has squeezed profit margins so intensely over this past year. We see 79% of small businesses are counting on this last quarter to make up that lost revenue or perhaps make up that margin that has been shrinking as inflation has grown. So again, this next chart just shows where the top concerns are, and it shows that inflation is at an all-time high. We also see that 69% of small businesses are raising prices. And this is a point that I actually have to really dig into deeply with elected members of Congress and our friends over in the administration in the White House. Sometimes there's the misunderstanding that, oh, well, it costs more for a small business, so they just pass those costs on to their customers. And for those of you who run small businesses, you know that it is not that simple. It is actually very difficult. It's very difficult to gauge how much your customer base can withstand price increases. Many small business owners, for very good reason, are very loyal to their customers, and they feel as though raising prices actually destroys that loyalty. And then the actual practical component of raising prices. When I talked with a small coffee shop owner the other day, they kind of walked me through the process of raising prices, and it is not easy. You know, step one, Grubhub. If you sell pizza, maybe you're on Slice, Uber Eats, DoorDash. You actually have to have a complete overhaul of the pricing in all of those food delivery technologies. Also, you have to change your menu. Then, equally as important, you have to actually meet with your team and kind of explain why those price increases are happening. And then last, but certainly not least, you actually have to very carefully explain those price increases to your customer base. And that actually applies business to business as well as business to consumer, but not an easy process. But small businesses are saying 69% of them are saying in the fourth quarter, they are still having to raise prices to cover costs. Now, the good news, because I do actually like to both focus on good news and close as many slides as I can with good news, even though there are incredible inflationary pressures, this small business index that we're releasing next week show that has not dampened the charitable mindset of small business owners. Now, for me, that's not really that surprising. I mean, I'm the Chamber's small business guy. So, of course, I know the philanthropy and the charitable giving and the heart of all the small business owners in the United States. But it was really nice to see that that as we track charitable activities, it has actually not gone down, even though inflation is such a strong headwind and is making business more difficult. More good news. So this actually is a little bit of a shocker. Coming out of the recession of 2008 and 2009, it took 10 years for there to be an upward trajectory of new business applications. After April 2020, when the government forced all businesses to actually close because of COVID, it only took 4 months for there to be a rebound in new business applications. It's really pretty tremendous. Now, the rationale and the explanation is actually pretty easy as far as I'm concerned. The reason why this very quick rebound makes sense to me, at least, is that I know small businesses create their business to solve problems. It's that simple. And when in our lifetime has there been a more intense time period of problems than March, April, May of 2020? And entrepreneurs, no surprise, rose to the occasion to try to fill in and solve those problems. And I'll drill down a little bit about what that means. And we saw an enormous spike in delivery, logistics, and warehousing. Because when it comes down to it, Uber, FedEx, and UPS could only deliver so many things. When the entire economy shifted overnight to an at-home business environment for a lot of us, there was enormous strain on the logistics of getting everything to those people's homes almost instantaneously. And should be no surprise that small businesses rose to that occasion. Entrepreneurs rose to that occasion. We saw new applications in only 4 months skyrocket, and they've stayed high. Now, those businesses that made curbside pickup easy, or made home delivery easy, or made the technology for that type of logistics easy, then kind of morphed. What we saw, they morphed into the e-commerce world. And we're seeing that no longer is having a commerce-driven website a luxury for any small business. It is now a necessity. And so, again, that new need is filled by entrepreneurs. And as the economy kind of leveled out, we saw more technology folks that were in the logistics business shift into the e-commerce business. We continue to see those new business applications rising. And as you can see in this right-hand chart on the right side of the slide, those applications for July of 2020 spiked, as we just talked about, and then they've still remained above the usual levels for several months following. And we see, I'm trying to look at my notes here, we see actually that Tennessee, you're up 5.2% from just last year in new business applications. And that is actually a very good thing. It's worth being optimistic about. Now, the question is, how do we keep that trend going up? And I say from time to time here in Washington, D.C. to lawmakers, like, there is a gift of entrepreneurship that gives to communities, employees, and nationally to our entire economy. Let's not kill the geese that are laying the golden eggs. And that basically means, hey, Congress, hey, White House, like, please do not micromanage small businesses towards a recovery, because it doesn't work. It actually many times has the opposite effect and can destroy free enterprise instead of helping. And so sometimes describing that doesn't have the most positive reaction. So we asked small businesses, like, look, you're running your business every day. Is there anything you think that would make sense that we should tell lawmakers every day in Washington, D.C. that conveys your feelings without you having to fly to Washington, D.C. every week, every day to kind of inform these lawmakers? And what we came up with is a small business bill of rights. 5 very simple principles that ask the federal government to be helpful, not harmful. The ability, this Bill of Rights says, small businesses should have a right to hire and manage their employees in a way that helps them as a business and helps their employees and their communities. They believe that small businesses should have a right to enter into contracts with each other without the Federal Trade Commission trying to micromanage what the contracts say. Or perhaps number 4, I'm skipping over one, but number 4, like, the Federal Trade Commission probably should not be in the business of saying, you could sell your business to this company, but you can't sell it to that company. Small businesses tell us that's none of the federal government's business. It's their business. Obviously, small businesses want to be protected against profit-motivated plaintiff lawsuits. And then last but not least, small businesses want a seat at the table when the federal government says it wants to help, but in fact might be having unintended negative consequences. I'll give you an example. Right now, the Department of Labor is trying to redefine what constitutes an independent contractor as opposed to an employee. And unfortunately, they're getting it wrong and making it very complicated for 1099 businesses, independent contractors, to exist without being classified as an employee of their largest clients. And I'm a little bit close to this situation. My wife is a consultant, and her largest client is appreciated. But if you ask my wife whether or not she wants to be an employee of this client, she says, no. I like my flexibility. Quite frankly, I like being my own boss, and I want to be a 1099 business. And so where the Department of Labor believes that it is, quote unquote, helping people who would rather be employees, in fact, they're doing the opposite. They're actually insulting people like my wife who really do enjoy and want to be independent contractors. And because small business did not have a seat when the folks at Department of Labor were crafting this idea, they got it wrong. And now we're using everything at the U.S. Chamber's disposal, along with our friends at the Knoxville Chamber and others, to try to push back and say, hey guys, you got this wrong. This is actually penalizing free enterprise in this country and not actually rewarding it. That's just one of many examples. This is the last slide. And then I'm hoping to open up to questions and comments and observations so that I can learn with all of you. But this is a part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce where we want to be helpful and provide advice. So for instance, I hear a lot, how do I structure my business in a way that is sensitive to a higher interest rate environment? Well, we in fact have advice from other small businesses about how to navigate high interest environments. And we have a small business digital platform called CO, C-O. And the URL for that website is up there in the upper right-hand corner, uschamber.com/CO. And this small business digital platform provides information told through the experiences of other small businesses on how to handle a lot of the things that are coming at small businesses every day. For instance, I know I have to raise my prices. How do I set those prices? That is one of the most frequently resourced content pieces on CO for us. Another thing that we find is a lot of employees of larger businesses have been thinking of starting a new business, but aren't quite sure what type of business they should start. And so the top 5 businesses that are being started at this point in the economy is another one of those content pieces on CO is getting remarkable pickup. And we are doubling down on the importance of providing useful information for small businesses who benefit from a peer network of other small businesses so that they don't necessarily step in the same quicksand as some of their peers have. Wonderful narratives of tax challenges, startup challenges, financing challenges, all told from the experiences of other entrepreneurs and small business owners. So with that, I'll stop. I'll turn off. I'll turn off the slides and happy to answer any questions.
Tom, thank you so much. I'm not sure we have any questions at this time. A couple of comments I want to make. I really appreciate you talking about Carbon Rivers and Strategy and Coonhound Camping and Yassine's, all great small businesses in our community, very engaged, and we're really proud of the Knoxville community's small business engagement, particularly around the Dream Big Awards, and we enjoy nominating companies in our community that are showing excellence. Secondly, I want to say thanks so much for the digital resources that the U.S. Chamber provides. Actually, the links to and we also put a lot of the digital assets that you guys provide for small business on our social media platforms on more than frequent occasion to help our small businesses in our community understand the resources that are available to them and get good information and collaboration opportunities for that as well. The links as well as highlights of articles are on our small business section of our website, as well as our entrepreneurship section of our website. We consider those core resources to the small businesses in our community. Last, I would say an expansion of what you talked about today is obviously on your website under the article that you published on October the 25th, How to Navigate Inflation and High Interest Rates. So I would encourage the attendees to go and read that article. And as always, the Small Business Index that comes out quarterly is a resource that we lean on heavily. So Tom, thank you guys so much for what the U.S. Chamber does for small business and free enterprise. And I just want to say a personal thank you to the folks at the U.S. Chamber for all the great resources they provide.
Well, Mark, you're too kind. Let me just touch on something that is it's something we were not very good at pre-COVID, and we're trying to be better at post-COVID. Because I think the term pivoting might have been overused over the last several years. But we pivoted too, with your help, Mark. When COVID forced government to shut down businesses, Congress came together and passed relief packages. And sometimes what comes out of Washington, D.C. is not easily understood because it's written by lawyers like me who aren't trained to make sense in our words. And we heard from you, and we heard from thousands of other chambers, a call for help to translate Washington speak into small business understanding. And so we activated this small business digital platform. And then we worked with you and your colleagues across the United States to answer questions for small businesses. It was really a remarkable effort. And I will never forget a Sunday in April. It was early April. And my boss had asked if anyone might be interested in learning about some of these federal programs, and in particular, the SBA's PPP program that now I have a permanent tattoo on my right bicep that says PPP, just because it was so drilled into me in those 1.5 years. So my boss asked for volunteers who could learn about PPP and then sit in front of a computer and meet with wonderful businesses from Knoxville, from Toledo, from Sacramento, all over the United States. And on a Sunday afternoon, men and women who maybe would have rather been at church or with their family or both, devoted 6 hours to learn about PPP, and they did it because they cared. And we weren't very good at providing educational materials pre-pandemic. I would joke, it's not a very funny joke, as my teenage boys tell me. Someone could call us up and say, hey, Tom, I'm really struggling filling out the IRS 1099 form. And my response would be, well, maybe you should call an accountant. But if you want to change the tax code for lower rates and a permanent 20% deduction, let's talk, because we can change the tax code, but we actually can't answer how a small business owner navigates through even something as easy as a 1040. And that all changed during the pandemic. We realized that, yes, we have to still be the best lobbyists for America's business community. But that doesn't mean we can't also provide information to small businesses on how to fill out their 1040 or what types of deductions are available for them on an annual basis. And it didn't end after the pandemic. We continue to try to tap into you, Mark, and others to hear, what is your small business community asking about? Where do I get loans? Is interest rates going to have me shift investments from cash focus to property focus? All these types of questions. And we're trying to answer them both through videos, through webinars like this, and most importantly, constantly through new content at our small business digital platform. So we pivoted too, and I like where we're ending up, and we're constantly learning from you and from your small businesses about what types of information we should be providing.
Well, I couldn't agree more, Tom. I think you guys showed great responsiveness to the feedback that chambers across the nation, as well as your small business members as well, provided. And you can count on us to always be collaborative with the U.S. Chamber and helping any way that we can to relay the information that's needed to do that. So everyone, thank you so much again this morning. Tom, thank you for your great information. It's very meaningful and informative. And I want one more time to say thank you to our entrepreneurship and small business sponsors, Shod Companies, Computer Systems Plus, and TVA Credit Union. Guys, again, thank you so much for being with us this morning, and have a great day.
Merry Christmas, Mark. Take care.